Hello and welcome to the Marketing with Yoshi channel. For today's video, we're going to be covering how to get traffic to your website with direct traffic. So this is the first of many training videos on how to get traffic to your website. We're going to be starting off with direct traffic, and maybe some of you might not know what that exactly is. So just define it first, saying that direct traffic is people coming to your website without clicking on a link, right? So that means that they're typing in your website URL address into the browser on their own. But actually, how do you get people, right? How do you get that direct traffic coming to your website? Well, you would definitely need to promote your URL, but even before you promote it, right? Before you do, you must make sure that your domain name is easy to remember. So we'll cover some domain name advice. In addition to having an easy to remember domain name, you also want the words to make sense, right? So when you put the words together, those words should make sense. For example, you would have 3 words in this case, profitwithyoshi.com. That makes sense, right? But if you change it to yoshivithprofits.com, not as good as the first one, right? Because profitwithyoshi.com sounds like we're all working together and making profits together. But with yoshivithprofits.com, I'm just the one that's benefiting. So that's not a really good domain name, right? So in addition to making it 3 words, 2-3 words, you do want to keep it short. So try to find, short words or not too long of a word that would make the domain name short, right? So you want 2 to 3 words put together, right? And you also want it to end with a .com, and I'll explain about that in a little bit. So the formula for easy to remember domain names is 2 to 3 words that make sense and ends with the .com, and I'll give you the reason why about that later in this video, okay? There's a reason for it. So, all right, so once you have it, right? Once you have it, then you have a way to promote your URL to your audience, whether it's through, for medium sized to big TV, not big TV, big companies, right? They have the budget to do radio, TV, billboards, print ads, even commercial vehicles, where you can put, ads on the buses and the subways, stuff like that. This is how you would promote your URL that's easy and catchy and, easy to remember for people. And, believe it or not, when those things are out there on buses and subways and everywhere else, people do look at them, and it just kind of seeps into their subconscious mind saying, oh yeah, I remember that domain name, right? So you can also spread it on social media and podcasts, especially podcasts. There's no link to click on. These are some of the ways you would promote your URL to get that direct traffic coming to your site. Now, how do you go about getting people to memorize your domain name in a meaningful way, right? Well, it helps to have human psychology to your advantage, because people's short-term memory span is about 7 things, give or take 2, right? And for example, we are conditioned to memorize phone numbers from listening to TV commercials and radio commercials, radio ads, where you hear something like, please call us at 1-800-555-1212. And even, if it's hard to remember numbers, they would even change these numbers to like actual wordings, right? Like 1-800-FLOWERS, right? FLOWERS. So you'd be able to dial that. But nowadays, we are conditioned to memorize website addresses, right? That end with a .com. So profitwithyoshi.com. But if you hear all these other ads and, on radio and stuff, it always ends with the .com, right? So that's why I was telling you before that if you do get a domain name, get a .com, because people are conditioned to know to put a .com at the end of any kind of URL. Now, how important is short-term memory in your promotions and your advertisements? Well, let me share a story that I recall from a college psychology professor of mine back in the early 90s, where he told me about this direct selling company, saved millions and made millions, right? when they got advice from an industrial psychologist. Okay, so the short story is that they had an ad with a product info and a phone number to call, and I think it was in like a magazine or something like that. They didn't have internet back then. Okay, so what they would do is once they received the call, they would use an automated service to qualify the initial calls as an info seeker or a buyer, right? And if they press 1, basically they're requesting more information about the products and what kind of other stuff they have, then they would get a catalog mailed to them, right? That was, press 1 for requesting a catalog, right? Press 2 to purchase. So when it comes to placing an order, these are people already looking to buy this thing. I don't know exactly what they were selling. Maybe it was one of those bug zappers or something, but they were trying to sell something, right? Whatever it was. And to place an order, they had to press 2. And once they pressed 2, they would hear another message saying, please call this number 1-800-555-8647 to place an order and thank you and have a nice day. So they run this ad on the magazine, and guess what happened, right? So they got the calls coming in, and some were pressing 1, and obviously some were pressing 2. So pressing 2 was like the really good part, right? Because they're looking to place the order. So, they're pressing 2, but the orders were not coming in as much, and they were like puzzled. So they hired that industrial psychologist. So the industrial psychologist measured the amount of people pressing 2 and compared it to the people calling their 1-800 number, right? And pressing 2 was significantly higher than the actual calls to the 1-800 number. So why did more people press 2 and not call the 1-800 number as much, right? It was because they could not remember the last 4 numbers of the 1-800 number, right? And so they had to call the initial number again so they can press 2 to hear the 1-800 number again and get that last 4 numbers. So let me break it down so I can better explain exactly what's going on here, right? So you have the 1-800-555-8647, and just to, keep it clear, the 555 number is not a real number. It was probably some other 3-digit number that came before the 8647, and I'm making this number up too. I don't remember the actual number, but I'm just using these numbers as an example, all right? And so let's just assume that people can remember 1-800. That's a common thing. People already know, oh, that's a toll-free number. But now you have to remember 7 digits, right? And then you hear, thank you and have a nice day. So you're trying to remember the 7 numbers, but then you're actually hearing another 7 things. Thank you and have a nice day. That's 7 things. So the short-term memory that we spoke about, we discussed that it's 7 plus or minus 2. And what you have is 7 here on the top. And then you have another 7 that's pretty much flooding your short-term memory. So that's why people could not remember the last 4 digits of the phone number. Now, people's short-term memory works in a way where they tend to remember the beginning and they tend to remember the end. So the first 3 numbers they probably remember, but then 8647 is the middle. Then the last 7 things is thank you and have a nice day. It's more of a phrase. So people remember that. People remember the first 3, but the stuff in the middle is the one that's hard to recall. So this is why it's making it very difficult to remember the last 4 digits of the phone number, right? Which basically forced people to redial the phone number that was on the ad. So this was a problem. It was costing a lot more in phone bills, right? And they were losing out on sales. So the psychologist advised to remove the ending message that said, thank you and have a nice day. And instead put the actual phone number in again. So you would repeat the phone number, right? Again, that's 1-800-555-8647. And that would get them to talk to a real live customer representative where they could actually sell that product that was already advertised. Plus more, they could do what's called an upsell. Like, if you like this, would you like another one for 50% off or something like that, right? So this is how they would make more money with that call because they're coming in with the actual buyer intent. So after the fix, more of the calls for to buy the product came in. More calls came in for the sale, which saved a lot of money on those repeat callers that were trying to get the last 4 numbers again, right? So over time, the company saved millions in phone bills and made millions in sales because the people are starting to press 2 quite often and directly into the call center. So now you see the importance of short-term memory, where we have a memory span of about 7 things, okay? So when you are promoting your domain name, make sure you end with .com and nothing else. Don't put anything after .com saying have a nice day, thank you for listening, or anything like that. Just end with your domain name, .com. Now I have one more tip that will really enhance your promotion of your URL, and that has to do with a domain name, how they're memorized, right? So domain names are memorized in a rhythmic pattern in 4 to 5 beats. And what do I mean by that, right? So here's an example. ProfitWithYoshi.com. That's 5 beats or 5 rhythmic patterns, right? So let's do one with 4 beats. KitKat.com. So simple and so short and to the point, right? Very great domain name, but the branding, okay? Here's KitKat's a candy bar. They're a big company. They have a huge branding and advertising team, so they have a lot of think tank. And KitKat, that's really easy, right? Easy to remember. So when you are promoting your domain name to get direct traffic coming to your website, keep in mind with the short-term memory span that we spoke about here, we covered today, along with the rhythmic pattern, keep that in mind as well, all right? So that wraps up how to get traffic to your website with direct traffic. And for the next video, we're going to have how to get traffic, lesson number 2, with referral traffic. And if you need traffic, you'd like more videos about traffic, so you can subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button. And if you like this video today, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them down below. And also check the description area. If you're watching this on YouTube, please check the description area below, where I have a free download, kind of a mystery bonus gift for you. And if you're watching this on like a landing page, there'll be a button for that as well down below this video. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.